2 years ago, they were all rookie MPPs at Queen's Park, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed newbies filled with optimism about the possibilities of public life. Halfway through their terms, we thought we'd check back in with them to see whether politics had yet crushed every last bit of spirit from their souls. And with that, we welcome back in alphabetical order Jennifer French, the MPP for Oshawa; Lisa Gretzky, the MPP for Windsor West; Eleanor McMahon, MPP for Burlington; Indira Naidoo-Harris, the MPP for Halton; and Diane Vernile, MPP for Kitchener Centre. And I always like to put in a little extra spice when I introduce you.
And you know what? You put me here where I am in the House, too, at the very end, because my name starts with a V and they sit you alphabetically.
Completely coincidental, I assure you.
I dream of the day where I can sit near the important people.
I do. First of all, thanks everybody for coming back. And we should point out off the top here, we wanted rookie MPPs from the parties that elected rookie MPPs in the last election. Obviously, Liberals and New Democrats did. There are no Conservatives at this table because the Tories did not elect any newcomers last time out, so that explains that. Let us find out how much of that optimism that you had 2 years ago when you swore in the oath, let's find out how much is left. Jennifer French, here's what you had to say when you were here 2 years ago. Sheldon, please.
Walking through the halls and seeing where all of the names are inscribed in the marble and knowing that our names will be up there, it's pretty exciting. You can find Agnes McPhail and you can find Ray Lecoq and you think, hey, my name's going to be up there too. It's a remarkable place to be. You know, when you drive up towards Queen's Park and you look at it every day, it doesn't ever lose any of that excitement, you know, and that this is where you work on behalf of so many people who put you there. It is it's very humbling, but it is awesome in the truest sense of the word.
2 years later, how about now?
Still the same, and we're still excited to one day have our names up in the granite, or up in the marble.
Still the same?
Still the same. I had the opportunity, actually, my brother was visiting for the first time from the States, and took him through the legislature, and seeing it through his eyes and seeing the grandeur of the building and the history come alive, and getting to share that with him was pretty special. But I think we all are still struck by that, the awesomeness of the place, quite frankly.
Even after 2 years of all the BS of politics, you still have some awe when you walk in?
Lots of awe. Sometimes it's awe. But when you sit across from a majority, that happens. But generally it is awe. You are a part of something. There will come a time when all of us look back and say, wow, we were a part of something. We were there. Hopefully it's well down the road. But absolutely, it is always a privilege and pretty special.
Indira Naidoo-Harris, here's what you had to say 2 years ago when we talked about being a new MPP. Roll the clip, please.
To actually be in that chamber, sitting in there, which is awesome and very awe-inspiring. The privilege and the honor and the notion that this is such a momentous occasion on so many different levels for me personally and my family, but also, you know, for the people and the voters of Halton to be able to represent them there. You cannot walk into that chamber without feeling like you have to give it your best shot. You have to make a difference, and you have to really be there and listen to the people who elected you to get there and be their voice. And that's extremely important to me.
And how much of that feeling is still left?
Absolutely still there. And I honestly, you know, not a day goes by that I don't walk in and I take a moment. I'm sure everybody here at this table does the same thing. I look up at the ceiling. It is a gorgeous ceiling. It's a gorgeous room. You know that. You've been in there before. And so you take a moment to just remember what an honor it is to be there and what a privilege it is. And I often think to myself, how lucky am I? You know, my dreams have come true, and I'm working hard to make sure that the dreams and the desires of the people that live in Halton are coming true too. And it is a privilege to be able to go there and try to make that happen.
Eleanor McMahon, when you got elected 2 years ago as the first Liberal in Burlington in more than 7 decades, here's what you had to say about walking into that building. Roll clip, please.
There's nothing more gratifying to have the opportunity to help people every single day. And sometimes I wish that people saw that more often. Sometimes politicians have a difficult reputation, and some of that, to be fair, is deserved. But what I see of the people that I've had the privilege of working for, you mentioned a few of them, Herb Gray, of course, included in that bunch, are dedicated Canadians who want to dedicate service and time to their community. And it just doesn't get any better. How great is that, really, to have that opportunity to help people and change their lives? It's awesome.
How much bloom is off that rose today?
Not much, really. The busyness of the place means that it can change from day to day. But like all my colleagues here, you know, you're reminded constantly of the sense of purpose that brought us to where we are. And what I find interesting about being in an environment with colleagues from around the province is that we came to the place for different reasons, but that the commonalities in which we share, the way that we want to help people, our desire to make their lives better is something that we share. And so I think when I'm focusing on that and I'm thinking about that, I have a greater sense of purpose and I remember why I came. So not much bloom off the rose. The busyness does tend to interfere sometimes with the reflections that Indira mentioned and that we need to have more often, but still feeling awesome and still honored and privileged.
Diane, you served the public in a different way before you got to Queen's Park. You were in journalism
That's right.
30 plus years, right?
I was your competitor, sort of.
I guess that's right. I guess we were certainly competing for eyeballs, that's for sure. Compare the public service you do now to the public service you did then. How different is the job now?
You get to help people. So when you're working as a news journalist, someone might come to you with some kind of a problem, and if you want to help them, you put the spotlight on that problem, you reveal the transgression, you go after people and try to get interviews, and you help them in that capacity. But now as an elected representative, you know, for all those years as a journalist, you've got your nose up against the window. Now the door has opened, you get to go inside and sit at the table. And how do you help them? By calling up the right offices, calling up the right ministries. We had this gentleman come into our office early on after being elected. He was in a wheelchair. He'd injured himself and he was never going to walk or work again. And he needed some assistance on maneuvering all of the ministries that he needed to contact. So we helped him with that, with his disability assistance. So when you can do work like that, you know that you are breaking through. I mean, when you're a journalist, you do it by putting the spotlight on a situation. As a politician, you do it by advancing people's issues and by passing policies and laws.
Lisa, how about you? 2 years ago, elected as an MPP for the first time. 2 years later, how do things compare?
So in the beginning, it was overwhelming. I'll never forget, my family was there the first day I walked into the chamber, and my father-in-law said that I looked overwhelmed, that I walked in the room and I thought, wow, what am I doing here? How did this happen? And that doesn't change. There's days you walk in there with a sense of purpose, like I belong here, and then there's other days you stand in the doorway to the chamber and you think, what did I do to deserve to be here? That I don't think that ever goes away, and if it does, then maybe you shouldn't be doing the job anymore. But outside of Queen's Park, because we're talking about being in Queen's Park, but outside of Queen's Park is when I really see what it was that I wanted to do this for, because I swore I would never be a provincial politician. I was at the municipal level at the school board, and I actually turned down. I was asked several times to run, and I said, no, I'm not interested. And then I landed here, so never say never. But it's back in the writing. As Diane pointed out, when you're helping people, when you are actually making a difference in people's lives, when you're working with them one-on-one, I don't think there's any greater reward. I wouldn't change a thing.
I think when people spend a lot of time around politics and politicians, they believe what you all said. They really understand the majesty of the job, how moving it is to actually help people solve the problems in their lives that they have difficulty doing. I don't have to tell you, the further you get away from the precinct, as you folks call it, there is less of that. I wonder how you deal, Eleanor, you first, how do you deal with the notion that so many people out there think that what you people do is discreditable, whereas what you think you're doing is actually very helpful?
It's interesting. I do think, and I'm sure my colleagues would share this point of view, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what we do. Like many of my colleagues here, I go to schools a lot, and I talk to students about, and I'm sitting next to a former teacher, right? You go to the grade 5 and 10 civics classes, and the grade 5s are in a way more fun because they ask you questions you'd never expect, and they're completely,
like
they have no boundaries. So, like, how much do you make? And do you like make as much as the NHL guys and stuff? And they just
What car do you drive?
Or, they're just so delightful.
For the record,
and
you do not make as much as pro hockey players, right? Yeah. Okay.
And then the grade 10s are a little bit more, too cool for school. They're a little bit, but they ask great questions. They want to, actually, their question of the moment is about Donald Trump because they think that's the question of the moment because that's in their sphere of reference, I guess. But they asked me about my job and what I do, and I think the answers surprise them. You know, they expect it to be much more glamorous or much more, you know, and when they, as I think it was Diane mentioned, or perhaps Lisa, when we're away from Queen's Park and we're sitting with people in our offices and we're helping them with their ODSP or get their license back, or we're helping a woman that's fleeing a difficult marriage or situation and a violent one and trying to find shelter for her and her family and her kids. These are the places where you really feel like you're making a difference. And most people don't realize that. And I say to these kids in response, you know, if you want to do this job, then you really better be addicted to helping people, because that's what this job is all about.
People don't think that, Indira. No. Why don't people think that?
Well, you know, they do and they don't. I think for some reason there's a sense out there on occasion that, you know, politicians are X, Y, and Z, and some, let's just say, some not terribly positive kinds of ideas. But I gotta say, over the last few years, I've just had this amazing kind of response from people, you know. So I go grocery shopping. People will say to me, "What are you doing here?" And I'll be, "Grocery shopping," you know. And then they'll just stop you and they'll say, "You know, I just want you to know, I've seen you in the paper and you're working so hard, and I want you to know that I appreciate it." The thing is that, you know, people do get a sense, I think, when you're out there and you're putting yourself on the line and putting your family on the line and working hard. You know, there are regular folks who appreciate what we're doing. And just like Eleanor alluded to, you know, little things. You know, I was packing food for a group called Food for Kids, you know, so a charity group before I got elected. I was also doing some stuff with another group that, you know, had to do with housing. So they would have an event called Empty Bowls. And so now we actually have, you know, when there's a check happening or when they're getting funding, you get to stand there and say, yes, we're helping people who are with transitional housing. Okay. We're helping this group here.
Having said all that, though, have you been on social media lately, Jennifer French? Have you been on social media? Do you see what people say about you folks on social media?
Yes.
I discovered something called Mute, and it was Deb Matthews who told me about it, and it's wonderful.
How does that work? You do. You all block people, I presume.
You don't block, but
No?
mute means that you don't have to see the comments if you don't want to,
okay.
because we don't live our lives on social media. You know, we're out there actually helping people, and you've heard all the comments of my colleagues and what they do all day long. So I don't have time to be looking at these very unhappy messages. If you have something really serious you want to talk about, by all means come into the constituency office. I will sit down with every last person and chat with you. But getting into a war of words on social media with people who are hiding behind these handles, I don't think that that's very productive.
What do you think?
I've actually really enjoyed the social media piece of it. I mean, we all have sort of our Facebook or websites, and that serves its broader purpose. But the individual interactions can be quite interesting. So
More good ones or bad ones?
Well, on Twitter, for example. So I have not relinquished my password. I look after my own Twitter because I figure if I do something wrong, I'm going to be the one to wear it. So it's my own. And there will be people who might come at you from different angles, whether with a question or a criticism or praise. And sometimes you can use that opportunity to access someone otherwise you wouldn't have. You can, you know, give your phone number to the office or a real email because there might be a real concern there that you can address. They just don't know that they actually have that kind of access to you. So social media gives you that reinforcing that, you know, to Indira's point, people will say, "Oh, great job," or "I see you at all of these events." And so it gives you that chance to sort of connect in a way that you don't have time to make all of those interpersonal connections. But I don't engage in the two-way. I just like to sort of tweet where I am and what I'm doing and celebrate some of the local pieces. And I appreciate that feedback. I don't appreciate, though. Well, sometimes I do appreciate the chance to learn when they'll tell you that you can't pick an outfit or that you look tired or things like that.
You get that stuff?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which I presume male MPPs probably don't get. There's a double standard here. I mean,
Well,
there is.
I
We know
pointed
it.
out to some of our colleagues when, you know, but then that's...
Some of the
that's-
men? Like Wayne cut your mustache or something like that?
What? I would never say that.
Everyone loves his mustache.
Everybody loves Wayne's mustache. Let me, you know, one of the... Look, there's newspaper wars in the capital city of Ontario, and media want people's eyeballs. And of course, what comes with that is some pretty, sometimes tough and sometimes pretty unfair coverage as a result. How much of the bad reputation that politicians have nowadays, in your view, having seen it operate for a couple of years now, is because you don't think media coverage is very accurate or good?
Well, they can't always report on everything that's said or done. They don't have enough airtime or enough paper for that. Sometimes it's not balanced. I will say for the record that the Windsor media, my media, is for the most part really good. But I think it does help to feed into the miscommunication between what we're doing and what the public perceives us to be doing.
Did you ever get a real unfair hammering in the press that you followed up on, gave somebody a call, said, how could you say that about me? That's just not fair or accurate.
I have had one locally.
Do tell.
I didn't do a follow-up, though. No, because then she'll do another one. But, no, I didn't think it was fair. We had a disagreement on education and the funding of the education system. She saw it differently than I did, and she reported that way. And I didn't feel it was fair. But at the same time, sometimes when you call them up and challenge them on that. I mean, if it was really, really inaccurate, I was misquoted or something really drastic, then I certainly would call and ask for a correction. But the fact of the matter is she's an opinion columnist, and
so
that's
she
her
can say what
job,
she
is
wants.
to have an opinion. And so just because it doesn't align with mine, and I think that leads to the social media piece too, just because someone's opinion isn't the same as mine doesn't mean that it's less valid than my opinion.
Okay, Diane, I got to get you on this because, of course, once upon a time you were throwing the brickbats and now you're receiving them.
That was my favorite thing to do, was to hold politicians' feet to the fire. And so my husband says, this is such great karma now. Now it's you that's having
Payback,
your
so
feet.
you know what, right?
Exactly. I will say that for the most part, it has been okay in my community with media coverage, but every now and then you run across a reporter who has a different agenda. So they're not necessarily looking to report accurately on what you are presenting or advancing.
So what do you do in those cases?
If it's really awful, I will reach out and say, you know, you missed these facts, or I'm not certain why you went in that direction. But sometimes it's worse to do that, because when you face them a month later or 2 months later, they're going to be angry and they have their own agenda. Some are just out to get a good headline, and they don't let facts stand in the way of a good headline.
Eleanor, what do you do in those circumstances?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, if there's inaccuracies, I mean, just to back up for a second, I mean, I think key to our job is helping to unpack government, to help people navigate it and help them to understand it. And if we're reporting on something leads people to misunderstand the facts, the truth, I think that's worth a phone call and a conversation. I mean, I did media relations in my career. We all do it now on a full-time basis, right? And it's about relationships with reporters and news organizations. And as Lisa mentioned, she has good relationships with her Windsor media. I have good relationships with the folks in Burlington. But we have also a good distance between one another because they have a job to do. And so I respect that and understand it, as we all do. But if there's facts that have been miscommunicated and if there's erroneous information out there, we have to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it deepens people's cynicism about politics, and goodness knows we don't need any more of that. Second, it leads people to misunderstand what's really going on, which doesn't help move the agenda forward, and it doesn't help them at the end of the day.
I want to pick up on that word cynicism, because we did talk about that when we gathered 2 years ago. And Indira Naidu-Harris, here is what you had to say 2 years ago about the cynicism in public life and what you hope to do about it. Roll it, please.
I can't tell you how important I feel it is that we recognize and give our politicians respect. Because I think that if we live in a society where we don't value the people who we have elected as leaders, we are not going to necessarily attract the caliber of people we should be.
I kind of interrupted you at the end there, but what I meant to say was, has anything happened in the last couple of years to make you think that there's less cynicism about public life in the country today?
Well, certainly I think the federal election led to, I think, some real positive vibes, you know, with that sweep that happened with the federal party and with Justin Trudeau.
Now, you know, people will say you're a Liberal.
Yes,
and
they will.
You're endorsing the victory of a federal Liberal Party.
You're asking me what I thought. And yes, I did see this wave that swept across Canada that seemed to take everyone by surprise. And it was a wave of sort of positive feelings and vibes. But the thing about all of this is really, I think it gets back back to, people living in a public life and trying to do the work that they need to do. And I really stand by the comments I made earlier. I think it is extremely important for voters out there to at least give their politicians a chance. It is their job to keep us in check and make sure we are doing our job. But, touching on the conversation we had earlier about media and about social media, those are all tools. Those are all ways for us also to keep an eye on how we're doing. Are we doing the job we should be doing? Because I'm out there, I'm going to this event and that event, I think I'm doing a great job. But, it doesn't hurt to pay attention to what people are saying out there and what some of your critics are saying, because we can all take a step back and think about what we're doing. Are we on track or are we not on track? And maybe make some adjustments if we feel perhaps we're not.
Eleanor McMahon, 2 years ago, we talked about trying to take some of the partisan bile out of politics, and here's what you had to say about that. Roll clip.
And I think if we do that in our own way, and if I do that, and if I demonstrate to the people of Burlington that despite their political affiliation, even if they didn't vote for me, I'm still their MPP. And I think you sort of have to kill people with kindness, Steve, to be brutally honest, and just take the high ground and stay positive and demonstrate another way of thinking and doing to people. And I think if you stick on that ground and you stay positive and you work hard, I don't think you can lose.
How's that killing them with kindness working these days?
I haven't left it behind. I think it's part of my DNA, actually. You go through life, we've all had challenges, and if you remain positive, it's been something that's helped me in the past, and I don't think I'm going to change. I think we have to stay relentlessly positive because people see us as a vehicle of hope and change and desire to help. And if we aren't there are days when I wake up and, like all my colleagues, I'm sure, you want to be a ray of sunshine, and it's hard, right? Let's be honest. But I think we need to portray that we can and should connect ourselves in as positive as manner as possible. It's not always realistic, but it's important because I think people are counting on us to be that for them. And so that's if there's one thing that surprised me about this job and taken me aback is just a sheer amount of energy that it requires to do our jobs. And it's not just the physical stuff, because there's just much of that. We're not weightlifters, but it's the mental energy. It's switching gears very quickly. It's having to be present for people. It's listening to and caring about and having empathy for the situation they're in and trying to solve that problem. So
Okay, here's where I want to bring the two members who are part of the opposition into the equation, because you three, obviously, 1, 2, 3, are in a majority government, and therefore your life and your experience down there, I think, works somewhat differently than the life of these two. So Jennifer, trying to stay positive, trying to stay engaged and constructive in the teeth of what you perceive as a hostile, fascistic majority government down there. I'm exaggerating slightly. How's that going?
It was really interesting because when I was first elected, people said, oh, well, it's going to be really frustrating being in opposition and you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. And I went into it with that quietly in the back of my mind. And I haven't found that. Certainly people who are paying attention to our political system know that opposition plays an important role. But I have found it really energizing. There are so many, to your point, on a local basis, trying to solve problems. Well, it's also helping our communities navigate. It's recognizing and appreciating what our communities are needing, what they're concerned about, what they're wanting, whether that's affordable housing and healthcare, whether that's affordable hydro, whether all of these pieces, and trying to take it from the local perspective and bring it into the provincial, into the provincial room. Being in the legislature and bringing voice to an individual, but on the provincial stage. I have found it frustrating to sit across and not be able to change what I want to change, but I really do. I find it energizing to be able to be in the room, to be able to bring voice to those who don't otherwise have it, who do have that cynicism, who have been watching for years and feel frustrated, and to get that feedback from the community that are saying, hey, you know what, that was really good what you did, or, oh, you read my letter, thanks. It's sort of that recognizing you're there as a vehicle, you're there on behalf of. And I see that, we talk about it being a privilege, but it inspires you. When you get to stand up in the legislature of Ontario and be someone's voice, that's no small thing. So it is a very different role than they have. I think about that sometimes. We were all elected at the same time, but just
And we have a fantastic team. We have a great staff and research department, but not on the massive scale that the government has. So we do a lot of our own running around and some of our own research and making sure that we really do keep tabs on this story locally. That I can't tell you how many hour leads I've given as speeches, and I don't know that my colleagues on the government benches, whether they've had to do that. When we get up, it's for a 20-minute speech because there are only 20 of us. It isn't take that 20 and divide it into 2-minute chunks.
Right. So when you're up, you're up.
When we're up, we're up. When we're on, and it has been a wonderful opportunity to learn and to really get a sense of how the room works.
Lisa, how about you? The frustration of being the third place party in a place where, obviously, you don't have the kind of schlep in there you wish you had. How do you deal with that frustration?
Yeah, well, so I'm going to tag on to what Jennifer had said. You're up speaking more often. You get more airtime, so to speak, and because of that, you spend a lot more time really looking at the issues and getting to know the issues. And my federal colleague, who is also a New Democrat, had said to me that he thinks it's actually an advantage. Now, then again, they're also opposition. It's actually an advantage to be in opposition before you're in government.
How come?
Because you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting yourself as someone who's in opposition. As Jennifer had pointed out, when you're in government, there's a lot more staff, there's a lot more people there to help you, and the members, there's more members, so they're not going to stand up and talk to an issue at length like we are. So you really get to know the issues that you're talking about. And I think that's important. You're not going to have the answers to everything. You certainly are not going to be able to really get in depth on all the issues, but in opposition, you have a better opportunity for that, I think.
Conversely, Diane, how much does it bother you when an opposition member will get up there and level a comment about the government that you think is just dead wrong, and you're sort of supposed to sit there and take it?
Well, and then there's the heckling. And the really bizarre thing, and I'm still not used to this, is that half an hour later when you're in the dining room downstairs and you're lining up to get a bowl of soup, that same guy comes up to you and says, "Hey, Diane, how are you? How's it going?" And I'm thinking, half an hour ago, you were just screaming and heckling at us and calling us everything but four-letter words.
But out of fairness,
how is this possible?
But out of fairness, the government side also heckles the opposition.
Some
It
do.
happens,
Yeah, some do.
it happens to us as well.
That's true.
But it's kind of like a hockey game.
Yeah.
You fight on the ice, and then you step out of the chamber, and that's, in most cases, that's forgotten.
Imagine someone named Gretzky using a hockey analogy. You did find that weird then, the first time that somebody...
I still find it weird.
Yeah.
But I know that between 10:30 and 11:30 every morning, that's when we have question period. That's when all the TV cameras are there. And that's when everyone who's speaking switches it on and they're performing. There's a lot of theatrics and a lot of histrionics, and I still marvel at all of this.
But if I can add, there's a positive side to all of this too, right? And I think that's what some of us are touching on, which is when we do walk out of that room or we do bump into each other along the way. Jennifer and I chat all the time. We all, there's a certain camaraderie that you may not expect when it comes to politics, that even though we're talking about party politics, there's also this sense that we are here, there's respect, I guess is what I'm saying. There's respect on all sides for each of us, and we know we're all there to do a job, and the job is to represent our people and our voters to the best of our ability. So even though we may be on opposite sides of an issue at times, I really walk away just feeling totally energized on occasion when I bump into you, and we're sharing a coffee or some food together, or Jennifer and I have a chat after a committee meeting. And those things leave you with this feeling that, we're here trying to do the right thing. We may be going about it in different ways, but ultimately, in the end, we're here because we want to represent the people and our voters.
You know what's funny? I was at question period last week, I guess, and in the elevator after it was over, woman, I guess, in probably late 20s, and a member of the public, no affiliation with politics, and I said to her, "So what'd you think of all that?" And it was a day when there was a lot of heckling going on. I said, "What'd you think of all that?" And she said, "Fabulous energy."
Must have been a conservative.
I don't know what she was. I didn't ask.
I think what that comes out of, though, is, we're all human beings. And I think Eleanor touched on it in the beginning. I'd like to think we're all in it for the right reason. We all want to make a difference, and our ideas of what that difference is may be different, but we're all in it because we want to help people. So I think, for the most part, the heckling is because you feel so passionately about something is going to actually help your constituents. that's where that comes out of. It's emotion. Now, there is sometimes heckling that I think is inappropriate. It gets very personal. But I think a lot of the heckling that goes on, as Diane said, sometimes it's for the cameras. But I think that comes out of a passion for thinking that you know what's right for your constituents and you want the other side to hear that.
When you say
Mortified when there's kids there, though, and they're watching.
Oh, and there
this,
almost
yeah.
always are. When you say it gets personal, let's explore this just a little bit. How sexist does the heckling get?
Well, that could be an hour show, I think, some days. Sometimes it's out of line. Sometimes there are some members that I don't know how to put it diplomatically. But sometimes, yes, it becomes very sexist.
Do you go over and tell them afterwards that's not cool?
Sometimes, and sometimes, in all honesty, it's not. You're so heated. It's so personal. Myself, I haven't gone right over afterwards and addressed it because I might say something that I, in the end, regret saying it the way that I have, or sometimes I don't want to give life to it. One of my local reporters asked me specifically about that, and she asked me what was said, and I said, you know what, I don't want to repeat that because that just gives life to it. I've addressed it personally, and now I move on. And if that particular person continues to behave the way they do, then I'll take it to the speaker or to the House leader from the other side.
I want to explore this a little further because I don't think there's any question that the floor of the legislature is not as sexist a place as it was, say, 50 years ago. But I have 5 female MPPs here, so I do need to ask. Jennifer, is it still a pretty sexist place to work?
I think, well, I come out of a predominantly female profession. You know, I come out at, well, yes, and majority female caucus. So I was leaving, teaching for this, and so I have found a few new challenges. But I think it is a workplace, not unlike any other in Ontario, where there is room for improvement and where you're going to have that interpersonal push and pull. I think.
You get it though? Have you had it? You had people make sexist comments at you?
I don't know that I'd call them sexist. I would say that everyone has a different version of what boundaries are, and so you need to make sure that you make clear what yours are. That might have been a little too personal. So next time we're going to keep it professional, right?
Eleanor, you run into this?
I haven't had much sexist stuff, but I will say this, it may seem controversial, but I think men and women come from different places. They have different energy about how they do their jobs, and you see it really show up in the legislature because feelings run high, and as you were mentioning, sometimes things are said in the heat of the moment. And I think that, to Diane's point earlier, when you're standing next to the person in the buffet line and when the feelings are shared, it's really hard to switch that off and then sort of take it to another place. You have to learn to do that. That's certainly how I have navigated, because we are all human beings. And when things are said, it can feel hurtful sometimes. And so you have to learn how to navigate that and how to manage it and how to cope with it. And it's hard sometimes.
I want to play some tape of you now.
Uh-oh.
Here's you 2 years ago. One of the things we talked about 2 years ago was my time in public life will have been worth it if I ... fill in the blanks. Okay, Sheldon, let's see what Diane said 2 years ago.
For Kitchener Centre, we have an emerging tech sector. I want to see it grow and flourish. Our manufacturing sector is bouncing back really well, and I want to support that. We campaigned on all-day two-way GO train service to our region, which we are desperate for. I want to serve my Premier and ensure prosperity in Ontario. I'm a PA in research and innovation, and that's a perfect fit for Kitchener Centre, so I'll be working hard there. And I want to be there to be a strong voice for my riding, as I was as a journalist, now as an MPP.
Okay, that was the checklist 2 years ago. How you doing?
I have a very important announcement to make, and that is in a couple of weeks, the Transportation Minister is going to be coming to my riding to make a very significant announcement regarding advancing better transit between Kitchener-Waterloo and the GTA.
Want to give us some specifics?
I'm looking forward to that. Well, it'll have to do with public transit between Kitchener and Toronto.
Did you just scoop your minister?
He's been talking about this for a while, and he has said before we rise, before the summer, there will be a big announcement. So this is not news. You have to be paying attention to know that he said this a few months ago, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Eleanor, you said 2 years ago, I want to make a difference in the lives of my constituents, and as a parliamentary assistant, the Minister of Natural Resources, or as you called it then, logs and frogs. And you said you wanted to make some progress on those issues. Yeah. 2 years later, how you doing?
Pretty Well, actually, we're working very hard on the Conservation Authority legislation, which can seem very unsexy to people. But with climate change at our doorstep, conservation authorities, and we all have them in our ridings, play a really important level in source water protection and managing the environment and helping us all cope with the ravages of climate change. And so since the legislation hasn't been looked at in 20 years, I asked the Premier if I could take it on, and I have, and we've launched a fairly significant consultation. And just last week, we had a fairly in-depth roundtable with experts from around the province so that we could have the voices heard, so that we could have the feedback, and we're going back to the EBR, the Environmental Registry, to do it again. So making lots of progress on the Conservation Authority legislation. There's been a lot of surprises because it hasn't been looked at in 20 years. And it's important. And so people feel as though we're moving it forward, which is very gratifying.
Indira, you were Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Health, I think, 2 years ago.
Yes, still am.
Any progress you want to report on that?
Oh, absolutely. So I've been working on coming up with a comprehensive strategy on dementia and Alzheimer's for the province. It has been probably some of the most important work I have ever done in my life. So I am very proud of what we've been doing. We've traveled around the province, visited at least 8 cities, talked to hundreds of people over the last little while, coming out with a white paper in the next little while. Set up an advisory group on this topic, also some working groups, interdisciplinary working groups, and just talk to regular folks about what their issues are, what their challenges are, and what they feel they need. And so this has been working. I've done, for several months, almost a year, visiting long-term care homes, research facilities, talking to pharmaceutical companies, talking to care partners, talking to people living with dementia, talking to people with Alzheimer's, talking to all kinds of stakeholders in the field. Bottom line is, we're coming out with a white paper, and we're going to be moving forward with that in the next within the month.
Okay, I want to play some more tape here because we talked a couple of years ago about whether any of you had hoped to become cabinet ministers. Because every rookie at some point wants to be a minister, I think.
I think Jennifer's going to get in for sure.
Well, let's see how that conversation went 2 years ago. Sheldon, roll tape, please. But I noticed none of you said, in the lengthy lists of things that you wanted to make sure you achieved before you were done, nobody said, I want to make cabinet. I mean...
Oh, I do. Blind ambition.
Absolutely.
Well played.
I'll
Well
start
played, Jennifer.
coaching them. There we go.
Okay, that was pretty funny. I gotta hand it to you. That was pretty funny. Are you any closer to cabinet, do you think, 2 years later?
Absolutely.
We'll see.
I am on the team that is closer to cabinet.
I
I'm
see.
sure of it. I
Okay,
can feel
okay.
it.
Collectively speaking. Okay, well, let's just hit this on the head. There's been a ton of speculation that there's going to be a cabinet shuffle after the House rises in June. And funnily enough, 3 of the names that I keep hearing are sitting at this table. And with all due apologies, Jennifer and Lisa, they're not your names,
We'll
but
be
they are.
holding them to account.
That is your job, I believe. Indira, what are you hearing?
Look, I think you asked me this question the last time I was
Yes, I
here,
did.
and my answer has not changed. I don't think anybody at this table ran in campaigns, myself in 2 campaigns, because we thought, hey, I want to be a cabinet minister. No, we ran because we want to be the voice for the people in our ridings. And in my particular riding, I felt that there was a need for a strong voice, and I felt there was a need for someone who was going to actually listen to their neighbors and to the people in our constituency and find out what they needed, what services they needed. We're here because we believe in public service. That's why I'm here, and I know that's why my colleagues are here. That's what we're concentrating on.
Having said that, that's a good answer, but having said that, Diane, are you sleeping with the cell phone under the pillow now, just in case?
I sleep well every night. I fall asleep thinking about all the things that I have not done that I need to get to, and what you just asked is not something that I think about. So you might
Nobody
be...
believes that, Diane. Nobody believes you never think,
Okay,
especially when it's in the Toronto Star, or I've written about it in the past on my blogs as well.
I saw that article, and my first impulse, and maybe this is me, the former journalist, and I have a hard time, distancing myself from my natural reflexes, but after 36 years in media, I read that and I said, what are his sources? Where is he getting this from? Because this guy's more in the know than I am. But you know, as well as everyone at this table, you don't apply for a job in cabinet. You are either invited to be in cabinet or you're not.
Yeah, one
and
person
it's not
knows
our
and
decision.
One person knows, and she's not saying yet.
Exactly.
Eleanor, I'll give you the last word on this. Would you like to be in cabinet, Eleanor?
I have a job and I like it, and I'm doing reasonably well, I think. And if I'm not, people will tell me. But I, like my colleagues, you know, if you get a chance to serve at that level and someone taps you on the shoulder and says that we think you should be in cabinet, I mean, it's a tremendous honor and a chance to serve in another capacity, and we're all here to serve. So if you get asked, and it's a great privilege and a great honor. So, but as Diane said, I think the Toronto Star has more information than we do, because we certainly haven't heard anything.
Well, we asked for you to come today, and you did. So we're all glad that the 5 of you showed up here at TVO tonight for this discussion. Thanks to our rookie MPPs for showing up at TVO one more time.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.